what do you suggest, right? I mean, you have a very good understanding of what's happening, but what do we do? What do we do about it, right?
Yep. Okay, the first the first thing we got to do. I always get nervous when this question is asked because, like, sometimes I don't even know.
Understandably.
But
Yeah, that's a
and
good
guess what?
response, though.
Yeah.
It's fair.
Sometimes I don't even know. And guess what? There is no one answer for everything.
I understand that.
Sometimes you just have to sit down and say, you know what? Right now I'm stumped, but I'm going to keep watching, learning, and eventually something's going to come to my noggin and come out and all that good stuff. It was phrased
Yeah.
very awkwardly, but we're rolling with it.
Well, I
But
totally get that. You're right, and that's what I do. I
yeah,
wanna, have more conversations like this because I don't know the answer, and that's why I
yeah,
ask everyone, because maybe
yeah,
there's a little, like, a little bit of insight that will just arise from that question
yeah.
being
I got
asked.
some. I got some general ideas, and so I like to break this down into genres because, like, we can't do anything about everything. Well, we can't do something about everything. We
Right,
have
right,
to,
right.
because I mentioned human beings were very limited creatures. Our energy is scarce. We gotta limit our perspective.
Mhm.
So let's break it down to a category. Let's say, I don't know, what do we do about, I don't know. One issue that affects a lot of people is the wokeness in schools. The kids in schools being taught things about gender transition, clubs being held without parents knowing, this sort of vote against parent permission. What do you do about that, right? Um, and there are actually very actionable things you can do about that, because ultimately what happens in the schools will eventually transpire in society. What happens in
True.
universities will transpire in society. I mean, you give
We're
people a
seeing
set
it.
of terms and beliefs. Oh, we're seeing it 100%. It's one of the reasons why almost every major corporation in America has a diversity, equity, and inclusion office.
Mhm.
Those it didn't come out of nowhere. I mean, there are people in HR departments, stock full of HR departments that believe this crap, that were taught this crap in college. Young
Mhm.
folk taught this.
Yeah.
How many HR departments didn't implement this stuff
Yep.
and ESG, kind of stuff? It didn't come out of nowhere. So what you can do, you can't really do much when someone's grown and they have their own mind. You can't really do much. I've had parents ask me, Christian, my daughter's in grad school. She's 26 and she just doesn't like me anymore. Thinks I'm racist. I'm like, you got to love her, man. You have to love her still, because right, ultimately she's making her own decision about what she thinks. So you can't do much right then. But what you can do, while you still have some jurisdiction over your children's life, you can homeschool them. You can demand school choice. Or if you're in an area that has school choice, you can use school choice to get them into better schools that better reflect your values. You can join an organization that fights for school choice. There are many of them. I forget. There's one organization that sends me stuff all the time that fights for school choice. They take volunteers. They set up chapters in your states, and they can be very, very effective if you get enough people. I mean, I think the wokeness in schools, the 1690 Project, all that has awakened a sleeping giant. Because so many parents that were previously apolitical, so many people that were previously apolitical, began seeing what was happening in their community, and they're like, "Oh heck no!" Which is why critical race theory was the cash cow of 2021. It is the cash cow of 2022. It's going to be the cash cow of this midterm election, because so many people who had no interest in politics are now getting in. They're hitting the books. The walkaway movement's a very good example of all of this. A lot of walkaway people had no interest in politics whatsoever. They were uncritically Democrats. Then they
Yep.
saw things like, hold on, this doesn't seem right. They began going down the rabbit hole, and boom, boom, just got out. So staying aware and staying active on particular issues that you know you can do things in is a good idea. Also, and this is going to seem a little bit simple, but it's probably the basis of any kind of other action. You've got to be willing to go out, put down the phone, put down Twitter, and go out and talk. You've got to be willing to go out and talk. Learn who your neighbor is. Learn who your kid's friend is. If your kid's grown, then go get some friends yourself. If you don't have friends, go to events, join social groups, and talk. Talk to people. Learn their not just a small talk. Oh, how you doing? How's your morning? That's just the basis for a superficial interaction. I don't do
Right.
small talk personally. I can't stand it. Some
Yeah.
people, it's an effective marketing tool. I get it. I want to know who you are deep inside. I don't want to know how your morning is. Your morning's going to change every day. But who you are, your values, your convictions, that's something that needs to be permanent. So go
Yeah.
out and talk to people and ask them, hey, and throw it in the conversation. Hey, what do you think about some things that are going on right now? And if they say, I don't know. Inform them, educate, give them resources. That's how you plant seeds and start fires in the minds of men. How do you think this American Revolution happened? It just didn't come out of nowhere. There were a few people in the colonies that hated King George for putting taxes on their tea
Mm-hmm.
and ordering troops in their house. That was not a majority of people in the colonies, not at all. But then Common Sense happened, Thomas Paine's pamphlet, which talked about natural law, natural rights philosophy, and how what the king was doing was condemnable. Then the grievances, list of grievances happened. And Common Sense, the grievances, all these popularly printed stuff went out to the population, and it caught fire in the minds of people who were previously docile, who were previously sedate. They got up and said, no, something has got to give. Something has got to change. I only believe these things because I had been taught so much of my life to believe these things and to be pacified, but no more. And even then, it wasn't a majority of the nation, but it was enough people who said, that's enough. This is not going to happen. They took up arms. Not saying that to do that. Don't do that. But they took up arms and they fought back and revoked the yoke of the monarchy over their country and established what is now a 270-plus-year-old greatest experiment in human freedom on the history of this planet. This was not a majority of people. This was not most people. This was some people who had the right ideas, had the fire within their hearts, and used that fire to go ahead and create a morally righteous situation. It only takes a few people. It never takes an entire society. There are no masses. There are only groups of men with the right ideas or the wrong ideas. And you have to figure out which one you fit into. Because if you don't, you'll be misled. Let me stop. I'm going to start preaching.
I don't want you to stop. I don't want you to stop. This is the kind this is the kind of stuff that people need to hear. This exact right here, this conversation, what you've just been saying, like that is so important